Hey everybody, this is the key for the retake assignment for Chapter 11A. So I'll just go through it. Feel free to skip ahead on things that you don't need to see. First question says the lateral and surface area of the prism. So since I asked for lateral area on a rectangular prism like this, you can use anything as a base. So the directions said use the bottom as one of the bases. So this is a base and this is a base, these 8x7s. All right, so anyways, we got a prism. So with prisms, we have LA equal to perimeter times H, and we have SA equal to LA plus 2B, right? So the perimeter is what the lowercase p stands for. The perimeter of this, of the bottom, 8 plus 7 is 15. Another 8 and another 7 will be another 15. So the perimeter is 30. The height is how far the bases are apart. Not always a vertical measurement. This one is. So we have 6 right here. So 30 times 6, or 180 square meters, is our answer for LA. And then we're going to take that number and we're going to add it with 2B. So let's figure out what capital B is. So since it's a rectangle, we just have base times height. The base and height of the rectangle doesn't matter which one's 8 and which one's 7. So that gives you a total of 56. So our surface area is 180 plus 2 times 56. Okay, and 2 times 56 would be 112. So we have a total of 292 square meters for our answer for our surface area. And that's the process that we follow for surface area. Add up the sides, the lateral pieces, and then add in however many bases there are. So for prisms, there's 2 bases. Cones and pyramids, there are only 1 base. So the next one's a cylinder. So let's take a look at that one and that formula. So they want both LA and SA. Check the directions. This one wants it in terms of pi, so we're not going to worry about that with any calculator steps. The lateral area of a cylinder is 2 pi RH. All right, the surface area is that LA, 2 pi RH, plus there's 2 circles that are pi r squared in size each. So let's figure out the lateral area first. 2 times pi times r times h. So r is 5 in this one. And the height is how far the circles are apart from each other, which is 7. So 2 times 5 times 7, that's going to make 70. And then we're not putting the pi into the calculator. So we have 70 pi square inches for our lateral area. Okay. Well then, if you want to think about B, that's pi r squared. Each circle is pi times 25. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Pi times 5 squared, which is 25 pi. So that's just one of the bases. So the surface area is 70 pi, plus there's 2 bases that are 25 pi each. So 70 pi plus 50 pi, or 120 pi square inches, would be our surface area. So 70 for LA, 120 for SA. Okay, moving on, next shape is a pyramid. So for surface area for these, it's just a little bit different. Instead of p times h to get all the sides that are rectangles, now the sides are all triangles. So now it's 1/2 PL. So LA equals 1/2 P. L is the slant height. We'll look at the difference between this one and the next one here in a second. L is 7 for this one. Okay, we'll worry about that in a second. When we get our surface area, it's LA plus B. There's only one base in a pyramid. So the perimeter, we do the same way that we were doing before. This is a square on the bottom. You can tell by the tick marks here. So each side is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. So we have 1/2 times 28, and then L stands for slant height, which is this distance here, which also happens to be 7. Okay, so if you want to go to the calculator for it, we have 1/2 times 28 times 7, all right, or 98. So the lateral area is 98. I forgot the unit, but we'll get that in a second. Square centimeters. We could type that in. And then we're adding b to that, which is 7 times 7. It's a square on the bottom. So 49 square centimeters is b. We don't have to double that for a pyramid. So we have 98 plus 49. Okay. So 147 square centimeters is our answer for that one. So 98 and 147. And then we'll move on to show you what the difference with the next one is. So this one's also a pyramid. So we have a couple things that stay the same, like our formula for LA and our formula for SA. There's going to be one thing that's a little bit trickier about this one, is they didn't give us what L was. They gave us this inside height, which is H. So we have H is 15. And I'm just gonna do that off to the side here. So, goodness gracious. What we have here is that if we have that H is 15, we use Pythagorean Theorem to get what L is. So we got to think about this triangle here. So I know that that's 15. And then I got to get what L is. So on the bottom here, it's 40 all the way across. Well, this is going to go exactly to the center of the square, so I can say that this is 20. So I'm going to figure out L using Pythagorean Theorem here. Okay, I have 15 squared plus 20 squared equal to L squared. Okay, well, 15 squared and 20 squared, if you add those up, you get 225 plus 400, or 625 equal to L squared. The square root of 625 is 25. So 25 is L for this problem. Okay, so if they give you the wrong height, that'll be a problem during the next half of the chapter too. Sometimes you get the wrong height. If they give you the wrong height, you got to find the correct height. So the height is 25, the lateral height. And this problem even told you, hey, you need to find lateral height. Okay, so now we can do the rest of the problem the way we have been doing it. So that means we need the perimeter. The perimeter of this is 40 plus 40, which is 80, plus 80 more is 160. So we have 1/2 times 160 times 25. So you can do that a couple ways. You can punch it all in. 1/2 of 160 is 80, so you could just do 80 times 25. And you can get 2,000 for your lateral area. So we have 2,000 that goes here. Whoa, bad typer. These are in square inches, by the way. The base, again, we have a square again. 40 times itself, or 1,600 square inches. So the surface area is adding those two up. 2,000 plus 1,600, or 3,600 square inches. Sometimes they give you the wrong height. For surface area, the inside height is the wrong height. We want the outside height. For volume, it's going to flip. Okay, let's move on to cone. This is the other shape that you can end up with the wrong height if you're not careful. Okay, so let's first just get the formulas written down. For a cone, the lateral area is pi times r times L, that same L we were just talking about. Surface area is pi r L plus there's one base, which is a circle, pi r squared. Area of a circle is pi r squared. All right, so this one gave us the correct height, which is the slanted one, not inside, but outside. So L is 11. R, we got to be careful here. This might, if you got this one wrong, this might be why. The entire diameter is drawn in, so I would look at that as saying 10 is the diameter, which means I'm going to use half of that 5 as the radius. So you got that wrong. Maybe you used 10 as r when I used 5 as r. My general rule of thumb, if they draw the entire diameter, they're saying 10 is this length. 10 is the entire thing. Okay, so 5 times 11 is 55. We're going to leave this in terms of pi. So 55 pi is our answer for that one. The base is just one circle, which is pi r squared. Pi times 5 squared, which is 25 pi. So we're doing the surface area, which is just adding those together. 55 pi plus 25 pi. 55 plus 25 is 80. We have square millimeters for our unit for this one. So 55 and 80. If they give you the inside height, we have the same way of dealing with it like the next problem. Okay, they gave us this inside height of 12. We need L before we can get much further. So, again, we'll deal with that kind of off to the side. We know that H is 12. Okay, we know that this triangle is going on. We have 12, we have 5, we need L. Okay, well, Pythagorean Theorem again. 5 squared plus 12 squared will give us L squared. 25 and 144 make 169. The square root of that is 13. So for this one, 13 is our first blank that we need to enter. 13 meters is how long L is. Then we can solve the rest of it. R is 5 again. So we have 5 times 13 times pi, which is 65 pi square meters for LA. And then we're adding one base onto that, pi times 5 squared, or 25 pi. We're adding those two things together, 65 pi plus 25 pi, which should give us 90. So this is 90 pi for our final answer. Square meters. Okay. So if they give you the wrong height, you use Pythagorean theorem to fix that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some other things. So everything so far for the bases has been pretty easy. It's been a circle or a square or a rectangle. That doesn't have to be the case. So this one should look like one that was on your first test. The base is now a regular polygon. Okay, so it's a regular hexagon for this one. So what changes is, first thing I would do is say, okay, pyramid is right there in the directions. I'm going to copy down the formulas for that. 1/2 PL, and then surface area is just LA plus whatever B is. Okay, B is what is different this time. The bottom is a regular polygon. The formula for that is 1/2 ASN. We should have everything we need here. This problem can be really tricky if I don't give you everything you need, but we should have everything we need to get going on this one. They did give us 15. This red one is outside, which makes it L, the lateral height. And then our perimeter is 6 times, there's 6 sides. So 6 times 6 is 36. That's our perimeter. And L is 15. All right, so we have 1/2 times 36 times 15, or we could just do 18 times 15. 270 will be our answer for the lateral area, 270. All right, then we're going to add on B. It said to the nearest whole number, by the way. We'll do that if we need to round this one. Regular polygons are almost always going to be a decimal answer. So we have 1/2. A stands for apothem. That's the distance from the center to a side. That's given, 10.4. The side length was 6. The number of sides was 6. So we have 1/2 times 10.4 times 36, where 1/2 times 36 is still 18. So I'm going to do 18 times 10.4 just to save some time. That's 187.2. We're going to add those two things together. We have 270 plus 187.2. Okay, when you do that, looks like we get 457.2. They want to round that to the nearest whole number, and that would be rounding down in this situation. So 457 would be our answer for the surface area of the hexagonal pyramid. So now we're looking at finding the surface area of kind of two shapes in one. And these can be a little bit tricky. So what we need to do is we need to look at figuring out what the surface area of this is and the surface area of this, and then combine. The thing that's tricky is not everything is on the surface. So if you see the top of the prism and the bottom of the pyramid, this top square is actually on the inside. So we're not going to count it. So I'm going to actually fix how it says it right here, because technically we're not finding the actual surface area of these. Okay, so what we can do is we can break this into two. So let's look at the prism first, since that's what is first here. So remember that prisms, the surface area of them are the LA plus 2B. But really, this part's going to be different because we're not going to count two bases. We're going to count one base, right? So we're just going to worry about the fact that there's a bottom side and then these four rectangles all the way around. So we're really not going to do the 2B at all. We're just going to do almost like the pyramid formula. So it does say that this is a square. So if this is 48, then this is 48. Okay, so we can do 48 times 8 to get our, 48 times 4 to get our perimeter. So for lateral area, we have 48. Oh, I want to undo that already. We have 48 times 4, which is 192. That's our perimeter. And the height is 18. Okay, the base is going to be 48 times 48, or 48 squared. So we have 48 times 4. Okay, we already got that. So I need the 192 times 18. That's 3,456. 48 squared. So we're going to have some big numbers here, but that's all right. 48 squared is 2304. I'm not going to double that because I'm not going to count. So 2304 is the size of the bottom square. The size of the top square, that's actually inside, so it's kind of negligible. We're not going to count it. So we're going to do our 3456 plus 2304. 5,760 is our prism. That's all the outside sides of the prism. Okay, this is much easier as a volume problem, which we'll do next chapter. Now I'm going to do the pyramid up top, but I'm only going to do the lateral area. So I'm going to change that to say lateral. So when you take it, that's what it'll say. The lateral area of the pyramid, because the base is not on a surface. So I just need the lateral area of the pyramid, 1/2 PL. So the perimeter is going to be the same as what we had here. It's a square with 48-inch sides. So 48 times 4, 192. I lost my 1/2, but I'll add it in here. The L, the slant height, is 25. I'm going to divide that by 2. So 192 times 25. And then we're going to divide that by 2. So 2,400 is the pyramid piece of this. So if we're going to get the total, we're going to add those two together. So 5,760 plus 2,400, okay, which should be 8,160 for a final answer. So that would be what we type in. Oops, so 2,400 and 8,160. All right, those ones can be pretty tricky. All right, you got to think about what is actually on a surface. Okay. All right, now we're into sphere stuff. That should go pretty quickly. The sphere formula is as follows. We don't really have a lateral area of a sphere because a sphere doesn't really have sides. So that's kind of what's going on. These say nearest tenth, which means we are going to punch the pi in. So if you got this one wrong, that could be y. The only thing that's a variable in this formula is r. That's the only thing that ever changes. So we have 4 pi. R this time is 5 squared. That's 4 times 25. The exact answer is 100 pi. We're going to punch the pi in, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth. So we had 4 times 25. That's how I got the 100. So we have 100 times pi. We're going to round that to the nearest tenth. 314.2 would be my answer if I'm rounding correctly. So if you feel like you know what you're doing but you got it wrong, maybe you typed 100 right here. That would be the answer in terms of pi. You just have to be careful. Okay. So the other thing that could have happened is they could have gave us diameter. Then you got to remember to cut it in half. One more surface area one. On the test, there was one where they gave you the circumference. So the circumference of a circle, or a sphere in general, is going to be 2 times pi times r. Okay, so the circumference is that. What we want to do is we want to figure out, it doesn't look like 2 pi r, does it? That's what I'm trying to write. What we want to do is we want to figure out what the radius is. So step 1 will be to get r. Step 2 will be to get the surface area. Okay, so that's going to be kind of what we're trying to do. So to get r, I'm going to use this formula. The circumference I know is 20 pi. I'm going to set that equal to 2 pi r. So then when I divide by 2 pi to try to get r all by itself here, the pi's are going to cancel. 20 divided by 2 is 10. The radius is 10. So then I'm going to put 10 into this formula here for step 2. 4 times pi times 10 squared. So we have 4 times 100, 400 pi. And I think this one also wants us to get an estimate of that. So 400 times pi. Which is 1256.6. Okay, so with those, you want to find r first, and then use r in the 4 pi r squared formula. Okay, last one for the retake assignment. They're giving us the surface area of a cone. As soon as you see this in the directions, surface area of a cone, I would take that as a cue. Hey, maybe I should write down what that formula is. All right, then they're going to give us one other piece of information, which is the radius. Okay, and then they want what the slant height is. The slant height is right here. They want us to solve for that. Okay, which means we should know everything except for that. So let's see what they told us. They said the surface area is this, so I'm going to put that on the left, 40 pi. Pi, they told us r is 4 times L. Again, this is what we're going to try to find. Okay, plus pi times 4 squared. All right, so I'll do one simplify step. 4 pi L plus 16 pi. We're going to solve this for L. So we want to get that all by itself. So I want to move the 16 pi to the other side. 40 pi minus 16 pi is 24 pi. On this side, all I have left is 4 pi L. I want to divide by 4 pi. The pi's will cancel out. You don't have to worry about your calculator there. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So 6 must have been the slant height. Oh, I don't know what I did. 6 must have been the slant height for that cone. And that's it. Feel free to go back and check things again. I hope that helps. When you have 100%, let me know and I'll open up the retake for you.